guys, earlier today I was on Thinker Brony's MLP Brony analysis radio station on Blog Talk Radio. I totally spaced on giving you guys an announcement. I'm sorry, I'll make sure to do that next time. Anyway, here's what happened.
Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, I am Thinker Brony, and I am here with Sweetie Bloom right here. And Sweetie Bloom, you can hear me now on the phone.
Yes, indeed.
Hello. And welcome. Hello. Okay, welcome to the show. Now we are live. So, when we were talking about how we were making this episode, you want to talk about today's episode that just happened this week, correct?
Yes, or at least I figured that would be a pretty good starting topic.
Very good. Okay.
So, go ahead.
All right. So let's shoot with that question. What did you think of this episode this week?
I liked it. It wasn't like their best episode ever, but it was actually really entertaining, and it threw me for a couple loops, and I really actually liked the difference in format slightly.
Oh yes, the format was different. There was no song this week, but hell, it was still a good episode without a song.
Yeah, don't always need a song. Although they do help.
Yeah. All right. The coolest part I saw was the Pegasi in the wheelchair. They're just throwing more unique characters out there every day. He just caught my eye. I'm like, wait. What do you think of him?
I thought it was really awesome. The funny thing is when I first saw we got to the Discord lamp store, and I'm like, yes, of course there's a Discord lamp store. I want a Discord lamp so much now. And part of me was kind of like, oh, please have the vendor be like KP or something, right? And actually, I think in the first shot, it showed that he had like the doctor's cutie mark. So I'm like, the doctor's doing something weird with his hair. and then we got a decent look at him, and he was so awesome looking. And I don't know, I just was a huge fan. It was really awesome.
Yes, it was. All right, so let's see. Another question I can throw at you because I'm trying to throw hard and tough, unique questions to you, Brony. Why did you choose that pony? Well, why this particular pony for your OC? Oh,
interesting question. As with most OCs, I kind of created mine, and each bit is has a purpose. With how I saw it myself was I used the kind of cartoony version of my actual hair and eyes. Like, I mean, obviously my hair isn't like yellow, but the cartoon version. And for the body color, I chose just my favorite color, which is pink. For the race, I chose Pegasus. I chose Pegasus because actually long before MLP, I was actually a huge fan of Pegasi. Like my family knew they could buy me like a little Pegasus statue, and I'd be really happy with it. Just because I guess I always liked the idea of flight. Whenever someone asks like, what superpower would you have, I'd always say I'd want to be able to fly, which is funny because I've flown around the world quite a bit, but it's not quite the same in an airplane. So that was a pretty easy choice, actually. And yeah, for my cutie mark, it was it has a lot of symbolism in it. It basically, even though the cutie mark on the OC that I have right now is black, I always envision it as like a green to represent my Irish heritage. Their paws, because I am in the world of animal care. There are 3 of them to represent my family, and in my head, even though this is never really very obvious, they're kind of shaped like a Mickey Mouse head, because I'm a big fan of Disney. So that was for my cutie mark. For my name, I actually did have a hard time with the name of my OC because the general consensus about naming your OC, or how names work in Equestria, is that you have your name that you were born with, and then you get a cutie mark, and you have a choice of either choosing a new name to go with the cutie mark or your old name. And I knew that the way that my OC was, she wouldn't have chosen a new name. She would have stayed with her old name. So I couldn't just simply say a name that was a reiteration of my cutie mark. So I actually was like breaking my head about what my name would be. And finally I realized that the episode in MLP that really speaks to me a lot is, or at the time was one of my favorites, was Sisterhood Social. And because Applejack has always reminded me of my oldest sister, and Rarity reminds me of the middle sister, like my two older sisters, Rarity being the middle child and Applejack the oldest. And so, that episode really connected with me, and I was like, I guess that would make me some sort of weird hashing of Sweetie Belle and Apple Bloom. And so I just kind of took that and used that to create my name.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's almost like a big spiritual journey creating an NFT.
Wow. So, what was the hardest part? Deciding which name goes first, Sweetie or Bloom?
Well, I just kind of, basically what it is, I said, Sweetie Belle and Apple Bloom, I basically combined their names in a way that sounded least stupid, other than being like Apple Belle, it would be Sweetie Bloom.
Okay. All right. For your particular pony theme, you are a little bit a copy from other themes from the regular brony. You ever thought of changing up your theme or making a theme of your own that other bronies might like to see more often? Have you ever taken a risk of changing your videos up?
I've definitely given it a thought. The thing with that is always like, oh, should I change it and risk losing people, or if I change, will I lose people or will I gain people, or both? And what would be the best option going forward? For the format, I did start out pretty much, imitating all the people who had inspired me. As I went on, I think I've kind of improved my style a little bit, but it hasn't changed a lot. Every once in a while, I think about, changing up what to do. There was one time where Josh Scorcher was on he was in this chat, and he said, oh, I think I found my shtick. And he was saying it was like, oh, the musical stuff behind his videos. And the rest of us just suddenly had this moment, like, what's my shtick? And I think, and at some point I finally figured out, I think it's references. And I know that's like, that means I'm competing with KP, and I don't know if I want to compete with KP. So I could make my videos entirely references, or I could stick with a combination of the two. It's always a gamble. I might change my format in the future. It's so uncertain though. I don't know if I'm ever ready to take a huge plunge in changing my format, because I'm always afraid that I'll lose the fan base that I have.
Wow. Well, you ever thought your fan base would always stay with you even if you change your format? Just make one video and they won't probably get mad. They're just going to understand that you're probably only doing this to see what style might work for you in the future.
Well, certainly a good number of my fan base would do that. I know I've got a lot of very open-minded, very loyal followers that I love to death, but I don't know all, 300 or so. I recently reached 300 subs, which is crazy. But I don't know every single one of the 300 people individually. I try to, but, some people sub to me and then disappear off the face of the earth. So, while I know that there are definitely going to be a hand group of people who would, stick with me to the very end, and I appreciate that a lot, I know that, some people are a little more fickle. And the thing is, I'm never sure that if I change the format, it will be any good. It's also like I could change it, and then it could not be good. And then I might want to go back to the old format because it's tried and true, and everybody uses it because it works.
True. All right. Throughout the entire MLP, for your entire life of being an MLP, a while, or being a brony, how did MLP change your life?
It's very interesting, because I myself am a huge geek. I'm a fan of a whole bunch of things and varying levels of involvement in each of the fandoms. But what's crazy about, actually the first time I realized that bronies are a force to be reckoned with was during the last roundup, when Derpy showed up in the episode by name. And even though they got censored later, it still showed an amazing power that the fandom could influence the canon. And I'd never known a fandom to be able to do that to that extreme. So I was almost a little afraid of bronies when they had power over the writing staff. But it intrigued me. It was very awesome. When I started getting, more into the fandom, I realized that these, almost completely universally, are just a great group of people. They're very open-minded, very accepting. You can run anything by a brony, and they'll be like, all right, that's cool. It's very much kind of the love and tolerate. And for such a small fandom, they produce a lot of material. There's a lot of art and a lot of music. I'm also part of the Harry Potter fandom, and there's brony music, and there's also wizard rock in the Harry Potter fandom. However, I think there's probably less wizard rock than there is brony music, even though the Harry Potter fandom is so much more vast than the MLP fandom. So this is a bunch of very creative, very accepting people, and it's just so heartwarming to know that there is this group of people, this little pocket of people, who do get together and love and tolerate, and it's just such a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's extremely true. All right, throughout the entire characterization of every character on the show, which character do you believe needs the more character growth?
Needs more character growth. I'm not sure, honestly. I think a lot of them, certainly there are certain characters that have had a little more character growth than others. I'm not entirely sure. On the one hand, I know that the two target or for the main six, the two target ponies for this is Applejack and Fluttershy. Applejack because she seemed to be too perfect, and Fluttershy because she seems to be perpetually flawed. I've never really had a problem with either of them in this stage. The only issue I have with Applejack is that she's ignored, but I don't care so much as she's ignored by the writing staff as much as she's by the fandom. But yeah, I guess I think personally I want more character growth from Applejack, but that's just because I really love Applejack and I want to, learn more about her, learn more about how things affect her, and how she handles things. For Fluttershy, I loved the baby steps thing that they had in Silly Vanilla, the episode that shall not be named. I know a lot of people that episode gets them all hot and bothered, but I really love the baby steps for Fluttershy, that she is slowly but surely getting better. And she'll never not be shy, but she can still be assertive or not so much of a pushover. With Applejack, I just want to know more about her. Not so, as far as character growth, I can kind of, it'd be nice, but I just want to know more. I think I want to, more of a viewer growth. I want to learn the lesson about Applejack, rather than necessarily, although, of course, any character growth would be greatly welcome.
Wow. All right. For every villain of MLP, and, they fought a lot of them, what villain do you think is truly evil? Truly evil?
I suppose the answer to that would have to be Sombra. Because off the top of my head, there are 4 villains. There's Nightmare Moon, who wanted to be, assuming that, it's a little confusing how the consciousness of Luna and the Nightmare forces, how they combine, but it seems like Nightmare Moon wanted just to be loved and wanted to see attention and wanted to rule her subjects. There's nothing implying that other than it being perpetual night and that having a negative influence on the ecosystem and stuff. It didn't seem like she was necessarily a tyrannical ruler outside of that. We don't know. We don't know if she would, force everyone into slavery or whatever. We don't know how she'd be a ruler because she was defeated rather quickly. yeah, and of course there's, if we consider her as a being, obviously Luna, who's very much a good character, is inside of her. So, if she could be purified, I guess she's not completely evil. When it comes to Chrysalis, I actually always kind of liked the idea of Chrysalis. They didn't quite monopolize it on as much as they could have, because Chrysalis was just purely trying to save her people. She was just trying to be a good queen. Yes, that was, was hurtful to the Equestrian Society, but as far as she saw it, she was helping her people, and that was her motivation. And I feel like that can't be completely wrong. For Discord, of course, he has been reformed, and yeah, he was a bit of a brat, being a spoiled child and causing chaos. But if he could be reformed, he could be shown the error of his ways and stuff like that. So I think Sombra, since we know so little about him, it seems like he's just there to have power and very oppressive, tyrannical rule over his people, making them slaves. We don't, other than that, there doesn't seem to be any motivation. I think because of that, he's probably the most evil, so to speak.
True. Have you been seeing the comics lately? The comic books of MLP, have you been seeing those lately?
I try to keep up. I'm not quite as good at doing that. Usually I'll when I'm bored, I'll try to catch up with the comics, but I'm not as religious about it.
Now, do you believe the comics are canon or no?
I believe it's kind of a bit of a tightrope. I've never put huge stake in the comics. I like the idea of a lot of them, but I think it definitely works. I think and one of the people of the staff said it this way, that it works to fill out the gap, but not to replace the canon of the show. For instance, the comics, I think, implied that Twilight's mom wrote Daring Do, and we find out in the show that that's not true.
No worry. I already have an answer for that one, actually. It turns out I had a college teacher who has a plaque on one of the Stephen King's book of The Dark Towers, but it had his name on him. It actually was a gift from his book club for getting the concept and throwing an amazing detailed ideal of the book. So technically she just got it through a book club or reward for showing greatness out of one book, making it an ideal motive for anyone to read it. That was technically what the plaque meant. So I already had my answer filled out for that one. Twilight's mom never actually made the book. She just got the plaque from her book club because she read and told them the concept and did it a very well job, so the book club gave her a plaque for completing the book and understanding its ideal.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, that can work.
Yeah, you
but anyway,
you can say that random now. People can stop complaining.
Yeah, well, basically how I see it is the comics and the books can be canon, but, the canon of the show is always the true canon. I think it's great, world building.
Yeah, it's true, because we already saw we already know that Hasbro already said the comics are canon. And remember, Hasbro owns My Little Pony. They can say whatever they want in My Little Pony, and they say what's canon or not.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people treat the tweets of the writing staff as canon. So who's to say that created content?
Yeah, but remember, who owns the writing staff? Who owns the writing staff? And so Hasbro could say, "Hey, make Twilight this. You guys got to make it work, and we'll call it canon." Because even if you did get a past writer who's no longer employed by the Hub or Hasbro, and they say something about MLP, people will try to consider it canon, but the Hasbro will say, well, he's no longer a writer for MLP, so what he says about MLP is no longer canon.
Mhm.
So that's another thing right there. But anyway, besides the point of that, in Luna, what type of character do you see Luna in? Character-wise and progression.
Yeah, I love Luna because she's such a mystery. Definitely, it's implied, or actually now it's been stated in the show that she still has like regret from what she's done, and you saw in Luna Eclipse that she's a bit socially awkward from being gone for 1,000 years, but just wants to be loved, and particularly by children. Now we haven't seen that. I mean, other than trying to help children through their dreams, we haven't seen too much of that side of her.
It's just in the comics. Because in the comics, they're making her character growth amazingly well done in the comics.
Yes, actually, I've seen some of the things. I loved her in the Big Mac comic. That was fantastic.
Yeah. I know.
I was kind of like, okay, if Flutter Mac doesn't work out, I'd be cool with this shit. That works for me. Luna's such a great character, yet we hardly ever see anything about her. Which is a bit of a shame. And I know they can't really do it because Luna isn't really a main character, so we can't randomly have Luna be a main character of the episode when she isn't the star of the show. As much as people really want a Luna episode, the best we're going to get is something like another Luna Eclipsed, where technically all the main six are there, or something like that. But Luna is always a delight to see. I'm just always happy to see her in any capacity, really.
Of course. All right. The Royal Guard. Do you really think the Royal Guards can defend Equestria? Well,
their record is against them. I'd say yes and no. The funny thing is, everyone's like, how does the Royal Guard work? And I'm like, it works like a Royal Guard. Like the Royal Guard of in England, or the Guard of like the Vatican or something. They're mostly there for show. Yes, they are technically military. Yes, they are technically military trained. But I think if there were an actual threat, they'd be so out of practice that they'd be essentially useless. Especially since most of the time they're not armed. They may have like a gun, but it's probably not loaded. And they'd have a bayonet or something, and that's not going to do them much good if someone's got like a machine gun. And
that's true. So the Royal Guards seem to be like mostly there to keep the peace. The Royal Guards, if you've seen the comics, they do patrols, and they keep Equestria safe in the outer side. And when Princess Luna was asking, what glorious adventures have you guys done today? They were just like, well, nothing much. All we did was patrol the outer side of Equestria, and I got a splinter. I thought she wanted excitement. That Princess Luna was so bored because the Royal Guards don't do anything. They're there to keep the peace. It's just the thing, they're not battle tested. You think about it. If you ever seen Batman Arkham Origins, and you get the 8 assassins start going after Batman, ponyfy them and send them loose on Equestria. Even without magic, they can probably take down 100 of those suckers. Because the thing is, they're not battle ready. They're not meant for war. They're just meant to keep the peace. It's like you're putting an army ranger against a police officer, and everyone knows the army ranger's going to kick his ass because he went through war, he was in war, and he already knows how to fight. Police officer chases people down and uses his gun for, protection. But a soldier will just go in and just destroy them all. So the other question is, do you think Equestria will be ready for a long-term battle? Would they be ready for years of war? Because throughout the comics and throughout the TV show, when war starts, sure they were losing, but they only won because Equestria had magic on their side. Magic is good on their side, but too much of a good thing is a bad thing. In the comic where Princess Celestia was talking about the past and how she was remembering her friend, Equestria was on the edge of defeat, and Princess Celestia had no more power to keep the shield going. And those moon shadows from the ones that turned Luna into Nightmare Moon, they were already
the Nightmare Forces.
Yeah, the Nightmare Forces. They were already winning. They didn't have magic on their side, that's a bummer for them. But you can see if we're getting good battle calculations, they can bring Equestria down to its knees if they didn't have the magic they needed. Celestia would have lost the war if it wasn't for all the unicorns, Pegasi, and Earth Pony trying to help her push the shield back. All they did was manage to push him back, but never actually won a war. So that brings up another question. Do you believe Equestria is ready for years of war against a nation that already had years of war accounted for to fight against them? Do you think Equestria will stand a chance?
Probably not. I think they could hold their own for quite some time. The issue is, they do have magic, and they use that as a crutch, as a way of kind of holding their own. If somehow their magic were to be taken away or become a non-issue, certainly they would have a hard time. I'd like to think, this is entirely Hitkin, that in recent years, Celestia has been trying to, say, military up the Royal Guard. I mean, they did certainly. They tried to protect the city during a Canterlot wedding, and then were kind of deemed useless. But I'd like to think that they are trying. But there are certain crutches that people use to support themselves, and you always use that as a fallback. For us in America, for instance, we're only the world power because we have nuclear weapons. If suddenly that were to be taken away, we'd blow over we'd blow over really easily, or pretty easily. But the constant threat of that is what kind of keeps us where we are. And I think that the elements of harmony, or the great magic in Equestria, is kind of in the same vein. For instance, we learned recently in testing 1, 2, 3 that the Wonderbolts, prior to Luna's banishment, they didn't have a military at all, and they went undefended. And after Luna was banished, they formed the Wonderbolts and assumedly had a more concrete military. So I think the reason for that was because Luna's half of the elements of harmony couldn't be used very well, and so they started needing a military as soon as the magic became weakened. I think the magic, if magic is used to defend themselves or taken away, they would be in a bit of a pickle.
So true. Okay. We got about 2 minutes left before the show ends. Here's another question. Some can be negotiated, some can be bullied, and some can be fought. But some just want to see the world burn. Would you like to see a villain like that in MLP? Would it be scary, or will it be a moment that Equestria will have to choose to save themselves?
I think it would be a very interesting conflict, actually, mainly as I'm seeing it more like in the eyes of the main six, just someone who, I guess actually in a way, it's similar to Discord if he just wanted chaos for the sake of chaos.
That's true, but Discord was negotiated to conform. He's no longer an enemy or a threat because, sure, he was the embodiment of chaos, but he's not the true embodiment of chaos. Because if chaos was chaos, it shouldn't have been negotiated, it shouldn't be bullied, or it shouldn't have been bought. He was reformed. He was bought by.
Well, I don't think he gave up his chaos. I think if you, I'm going to really sound like a geek right now. If you think of like the alignments in things like D&D and stuff, that there is a whole chaotic, and there's chaotic evil, chaotic neutral, chaotic good. And I don't think he gave up his chaos. He just sort of switched from, I feel like he's more chaotic neutral that went to evil because it seemed like fun, and he went to good because it seemed like fun. Personally, I don't think, he was negotiated with. I'll definitely give you that. He was negotiated with. But if you're thinking of like a villain that comes up one time, I think definitely his role in Return of Harmony was in a very similar way. What I would find interesting is
we have about 5 seconds left. We're about to end the show.
Okay.
Yeah, we're already out of time. Oh, well. There's a recording in the end of this if you want to keep talking. I just don't know how much recording time is left. No, it ended.
Oh, darn.
Yeah. 30 minutes can fly off fast, huh?
Yep.
Well,
gotta try.
We can do.
Gotta try and make sure.
Yeah.
To.
We can keep going. We can make another one right now. We can go live again if you want. I can put down part 2 if you want. Yeah.
No, that's okay. I've got to.
Well, I hope.
Okay, get ready for Easter.
Woo! Tomorrow's Easter. Big tomorrow.
Yep.
Yeah. But anyway, throughout the entire, I don't know why I'm still asking you questions. The entire thing's over. There's no recording time left. I'm gonna. I can't believe I'm still asking you another question. You want me to shoot at you to see what you want it, or
sure.
you want to go? Oh, all right. Throughout the entire Discord's ideal, do you really believe Discord was going to change even after all that? What happened to him and being reformed and everything? Do you really thought Discord would have changed, or were you wanting to keep him as the same character?
I wanted to keep him as the same character, definitely. I think he's very much like, you know, I mean, everyone said this, he's like Q from Star Trek, and it's, you know, in Star Trek, the character of Q has been a force of great evil and great good, depending on what episode you're watching, and I think Discord could definitely be in the same category.
So true. All right. Okay, I actually trying to find my. I had a list here, and now I lost it because I'm moving around in the area in my room right now, so I lost the list of questions. Wow. Okay, now I am embarrassed. All right.
No, that's all right. We can save those for next time.
Oh, cool. So you do want to make a part 2 later on. We can make a part 2 and continue on the questions if you want.
Sure.
Just on a later date, because I like you guys. You can make another date if you want, because right now they're locking my time schedule now. They don't like it how I'm picking up so much people and reviews so quickly within a week. And now they're locking my time schedule. They're locking me from 4 to 7:30. Those are the time schedules they're locking from me. Now they're like, you can't do it at this time anymore. You can only do it from 1 to 3:30 and from 8 to 11 to 12:30 a.m. So I'm like, darn it, they're locking up the good time. Yeah, they're being mean to me now. Yeah. All right, thank you for being on the show. You mind doing a little announcement video on this so I can try to get more people to build up? Because
sure.
Today I just did,
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just did a talk with Silver Quill, not MLP Silver Quill, a different Brony named Silver Quill. It turns out they know each other.
Yeah, I'm subscribed to his channel, and I saw it. Or I saw his announcement video, and I saw that it was up. I haven't gotten around to watching it yet.
Yeah. We had a pretty good conversation here and there. We can make a part 2 and continue the conversation and throw you the questions you want to continue on.
No, that's all right. Not for tonight.
Yeah, not tonight, but later on in a day where you feel comfortable on.
Sure.
Perfect. All right, so
the big confusion as this works. So, will this be like? Has this been recorded and will it be posted, or I wasn't recording?
It's already posted. It's already posted. It was already recording. It was already on the internet. It's already posted on the main page. It's already archived. You can go into the page, click on the talk I had with you, and you can download the audio file for it, and you can upload it on your channel if you want.
Okay.
Free download, and you don't get. I do not let any Brony pay. What I'm doing is legitimately free. No one pays for nothing.
All right.
Yeah, I'm trying to sustain myself with my own money. No, bro, I do not need other people's help. I know help is important, but I mean, like, I'm trying to sustain myself here. And everything. So if I'm broke, but I'm still going to do what I do. Trying to make it free for everyone else. Yeah. Mostly, I'm also, how did you like it on the show? Is it good? You feel all right? Or is it weird doing it over the phone?
No, it was pretty good. I think what was interesting was the time constraint. So, I was totally not looking at the clock, so next time I will pay more attention.
So true. So, and other parts of MLP, why did you, make everything you do for MLP? Does it for your videos? Does it take like a week or two to make them? Because I also throw this question around. How long does it usually take for an average Brony like you to make YouTube videos?
It depends. When it comes to my reviews, the episode reviews for the new episodes, that takes me like 2 or 3 days. Just because it's just a hash match. I thought about this, and look, here's a reference, and yay! It's like just really little.
So true. Hello? I think 12 o'clock. I guess we're.